Please go watch the entirety of the video. It's a little bit longer, but he does a great job of presenting all the information. And if you're not aware of what's going on and how batteries are produced and the child labor involved, it is yet another on the list of things produced by child labor that you need to be aware of and need to be just please understand what is going on. Now, for my commentary on this, I appreciate that there are things we could try to do. But as with recycling and everything else, the general consumer, the general person, there's no impact. We're not going to have an impact on it. We're not going to stop using batteries in anything, right? We rely on our phones too much, our laptops too much. We're just not going to suddenly go back 50 to 100 years in terms of how we live daily life and stop these things. It's just not going to happen. It's going to continue to move forward. And that is unfortunate that it has to be at the expense of people. And I'm not saying it's right, but this feeds into the narrative that I've kind of been pushing for a bit now, that I really don't have any hope for things getting better. I'm fully expecting that by the time I'm in my 50s, I'm getting ready to be in my 40s, but by the time I'm in my 50s, which is a little over 10 years from now, that the planet will be much worse off. By the time all of the boomers have passed, are just gone, and the world has shrank a little bit in terms of population due to that, things are going to be so bad. There's another channel, Moles Are Cool. Go watch his content as well. I'm talking about how bad things are getting, but I'm not trying to be negative on it. It's just, I don't see how we fix these problems at this point. And it's not because it's just like, if we can't fix one, it doesn't matter. It's just that these issues, all of them, are so interlocked that fixing one doesn't do anything because the other problem is leaning right on it, and it just causes the one problem you thought you fixed to get worse. I wish it was as simple as the plastic problem be gone once oil's dried up, but that's not the case either. It's in fact probably going to get worse because we're going to have more byproducts from that stuff. I wish it was as simple as, we'll just clean up our current atmosphere and that'll make things better, but then the planet's warm enough, we have methane popping up from the bottom of the ocean now, fire ice. Moles Are Cool talked about that. And then to find, I don't recycle anymore in the traditional sense. I don't pay for recycling. When I found out that through Waste Management and then another company I switched through that, and this is years ago, I've known it for a while now, that you were basically paying a recycling fee to make those companies money because they're either A, sending the trash to Malaysia or another country that doesn't care about pollution, or they're just lumping all your recycling together in one pile and doing nothing with it. It's just something that really yanks the hope right out of you, because I'm not saying things get better. I'm not seeing good statistics of things getting better. We're still getting global warming. Things are still getting worse off, and we're not fixing the problem. When I find out other things, like companies don't really recycle that much unless they can make money off of it. I used to buy the excuse that companies like Walmart wouldn't give me boxes for moving because they were prohibited from doing so, or it was just not something they did for security. And then come to find out the reason they're not is because they're selling that waste to cardboard manufacturers. Now, thank God, at least some of that's going to someplace that's going to recycle it and make it into new boxes. At least that's happening there. But it wasn't because out of the goodness of their heart. They were doing it because it's a way for them to make additional money, and God forbid that anybody else do that. That's why we don't see many recycling programs that have an impact, because they don't want to pay the common person to do it, and that's what it's going to take if you want the people to do it. Companies have already shown if they're getting paid for it, they'll do it, but it's limited and it's not enough. And there's just so many things that we need to fix that we're not. When you look into diamonds, for example, and find out that diamonds really have no inherent value, but we place a value on them, which makes them rare, and then people go after them, and you get things like blood diamonds for no good reason. It really is infuriating, and it really just does suck the hope right out of you when you start looking into these. I like to be current on things going on. I like to know about environmental issues, but it's like the more that I look into it, the more I find out, then the more depressing it gets, because it's just like, by the way, you as a person, you can do nothing. Your footprint is so insignificant that even collectively it's not going to matter. And then the things that we can make change on aren't going to happen. As Moles Are Cool says again, can't we have trains? Trains would make a huge difference, but the average person doesn't want to ride a train. Or even if they did, you're going to get too many people that drive trucks that pollute heavily in congested areas that it still doesn't make a difference. I do scrapping as part of I do resell and then I do scrapping as well. And I try to get what I can, tear it down as best I can, and get the recyclable materials to the proper areas. And do I make money off that? Yes, I do. But I do it more so to make sure these things don't end up in landfills. If I could, and I know the reasons, multiple reasons why I can't, and I know the primary reason why I can't, but if I could go essentially mining in a landfill, extracting all the metals, which, by the way, is a position I think should be a thing they're doing, we could be recovering so many materials from landfills. If they did better sorting rather than just throwing it in piles and throwing it in the landfill, we'd be better off. But if you didn't know, our landfills they're mines, they're minefields waiting to explode. Some have caught fire. There is so much on that. Look up waste management landfill fires, waste management landfill explosions, and waste management landfill toxic gas, and see how many county landfills have caught fire, emit toxic gases to people, and have horrible things happening. And it's just one of those things that will suck the hope right out of you. So I don't know. I just don't have a good outlook on this. What do you guys think? What are your comments on this, and where are you at with things? Do you feel like I do at this point, or are you seeing something I don't? I am open to any new information that might be helpful.